Shalom, Israel. This is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. This is the Houston school. Today is Wednesday, and this is the law class. And we're going to get into today why now, at this time, it is so important for the nation of Israel to come together and start to love one another and treat one another how a nation is supposed to one another. If you take a look, right now, you see all the things that are going on in the earth. Things are starting to get serious. You understand? Things are starting to heat up in the earth. We got our Hispanic brothers and sisters being day by this government. You have ICE out here that is literally hunting brothers and sisters. You have President Trump. He just kidnapped a president from a whole nother country, and under the guise of this president being a drug dealer and creating or committing, all these acts of law. I turned on the TV yesterday, and they are having a council, a meeting, or whatever, and they are all the big oil companies, representatives for the big oil companies. They're all sitting around and they're bragging about how they took the oil from Venezuela and how it's going to benefit America, and we're going to have cheap oil, and they're just making jokes and just having a good time about kidnapping another president and then taking their resources from another country. Like, things are really, really, about to heat up. I know everybody just seen, out in the streets, unaliving a lady. And this is what we're dealing with, right now. So for Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, like, we really have to understand what's going on. We really have to check the climate of what's going on out here in the world, and really understand how important it is for us to love one another, and how important it is, how we deal with one another. All right? It's really, we just go about everyday lives, and, we don't really understand, how our actions or how our words, can affect one another. But it's really, important. I know when I was in school, and I come up and they say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. That couldn't be further from the truth. Words do hurt. The things that you say do and can hurt someone, can affect someone. The things that you say and do can influence someone. And so it's really important that we really be mindful of the things that we say, how we say it, mindful of our actions. So we're going to get into our topic today, and how, we should, deal with one another. And just point out, again, how, words and actions really can have an effect, on someone's life. If I could, can I get on 13 and 34, Baba Kushal?
This is the book of John, chapter 13, verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another.
That you what?
That ye love one another.
Now, this is a new, the scriptures say this is a new commandment, that ye love one another. All right? So a commandment, we know, is the law. So this is the law of the Most High God, that the Israelites love one another. And I just want to, say also, this book right here, this is not a universal book, okay? Christianity and all these religions around the world, they make this a universal book. But this book was written by Israelites, for Israelites, to Israelites. So when that book right there, that verse that he just read in John 13 and 34, when it says, a new commandment, I command ye that ye love one another, this is talking about black, Hispanic, and Native Americans loving one another. Because right now, if you look in the world, as a whole nation of people, we don't love one another. You have black and brown against each other. You have the Native Americans, against, the brown, the so-called Hispanics. You have all three of them in contention with each other. And there is no love being shown. If you can read that again for me, Brother Kishore.
God, this is John chapter 13, verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you.
As I have loved you. So we have to understand, like the Most High God is saying, look, y'all got to love each other like I love you. And how much does, Salakia, Yahawashi, and how much does Yahawashi love us? How much does the Most High love us? Well, we all know that Christ gave his life for black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. That's how much that he loved us, that he was willing to give his life and experience death so that we can live. And that's the kind of love that we should have for one another, Baba Kishore.
And Salakia, if I may, like reading that, it sounds, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, Christ died for me. Like, you read it like that and it's just words.
Right.
But just think of the magnitude of just put yourself in Christ's shoes, to willingly like just to give your life for some people, so for some of the people that just really don't even believe in what you doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't follow you. Most of those people that came in that 5,000, they were just coming to eat.
Right.
Cause soon as he stopped feeding them, then what happened?
They left.
He was left with the 12.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's heavy when one person dies for a whole nation of people, man. Like that's the magnitude of that is that's love without, you know what I'm saying? That's love on a whole different magnitude.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because you love your brother. In the world, you love your frat brothers because you done went through the pledging process with them. You love your teammates because you've been doing tour days. You know what I'm saying, with your teammates. Mm-hmm. You love your brother and sister because y'all been getting whoopings and eating noodles and stuff together. Absolutely. Going up, but to grow up and then know that you finna die for a whole nation of people, mm-hmm. That's a totally different monster there.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
It's a lot the water. See, we love each other to an extent.
Right.
You understand? We go through all these things with one another, and we'll say we love each other, but we only love each other to an extent because what the brother brought out was heavy. If you knew, that you had to give your life for this person, you probably would do everything in your power not to do that for that person. You would do everything in your power to try to dodge that death. You understand? Right. And I mean, just to kind of break it down in a little bit, simpler terms, if you see, a brother, and he on drugs and that brother asking you for money, what you gonna say? I'm not gonna give you this money, so you're gonna take my money and go smoke it up.
Right.
But like you said, the nation of Israel, we were a wicked people and are a wicked people, you know what I'm saying? And so when Christ had to give his life, like that type of love right there, it's the only example that we have of it. You understand? And so now we can look upon that example and we can, and really truly see what love means and understand what love means. Because when we say that we love someone now, we have to really, look at ourselves and look within and say, well, do I really love them like that? Right. Do I love them that much? Right. Well, Christ and the Most High God loved us that much that he did give his only begotten son. All right, and that should just be an example. Well, that is an example, of how, Christ and the Most High, God, loves us and how, we should, love one another. Because right now we can't stand each other as a people. We can't stand each other as a people. Let alone, looking towards, what we would, classify today as another race. But, but we understand that, Hispanics and Native Americans are our family. But we look at them like they're our enemies. And we're one family. Let me get a Matthew 15 and 15. Because also what we have to understand is, the thoughts that we, conjure up and the feelings that we, have, towards, someone, those affect, the things that we say. If we have in our mind, we have, feel a certain way towards someone, well, then that, more than likely, we're probably going to say some things, whether we like them and they're good and whether we don't like them and they're bad. But the things that we say well, let's go ahead and get that Bible, Kishar. Matthew 15 and 15.
Come, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 15. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Declare unto us this parable. And Yahushua said, Are you also?
No, you too hard. So I'm going to jump down to 17. It says, Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and it cast out into the drought. But those things which proceed out of the mouth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murderers, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemy. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. So just going into, that, saying that it's not what goes into the mouth, but it's what comes out that defiles a man. So when you have these, evil thoughts, and when you have all, those negative feelings, inside you, well, those actions that come from that, those words that come from that is what's going to defile you. Okay? That is what causes the harm. The things that come out of your heart. And we really have to be mindful of the things that we do. Because again, the things that we do and the things that we say can really, affect someone, and we don't even, know how much it could affect someone. How many times do you hear about, someone, getting bullied in school, and then, turn around and you hear about someone unaliving themselves because of how they were treated by someone, or the things that were said to them. I mean, it was an incident at my daughter's school not too long ago. Someone was being bullied. The girl kept bothering her. She took an ink pen. Somebody bothered her again. Went for the neck area. You understand? Unalive. Because of things that were said, because of things that were done. And again, we really have to understand, we are a family of people. You understand? And unless we decide to come together and be one as a family, all these things that's going on and all these serious things, we're going to have to contend with that here. That's what we have to contend with now. That's what we have to worry about now. We shouldn't have to be worried about one another. We should be each other's refuge. We should be each other's place of peace. We should be able to run to each other for That's what we have to be as a nation of people. We have to be there to help one another. Because this government right here, I'm telling you, like, they're already coming after our Hispanic brothers. Right. They already put our, Native American brothers, on reservations. Who you think they're going to come for next? Y'all even take the warning, like, y'all don't, like, pay attention. What were they doing? Sending the National Guard, into Chicago, into these inner cities. Who do you think they're targeting? They say they're targeting gangs. And listen, open your eyes. We're being targeted here in America, Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So let alone it's us that we have to worry about. We got a whole government here, that we got to be fearful of. And now I got to go home and I got to look at the brother across the street, or I got to go somewhere and see somebody look just like me, and I got to fear them. Like where can you go today that's safe? Slacky, was that it on that?
Yeah,
No, Slacky, I finished that out. Slacky. And let me just tell you this, like, compassion is something that we really have to have, for one another. Showing each other mercy, is a righteous thing. Right. Sparing someone's feelings is a righteous thing. You don't always have to say what you're thinking. You understand? You don't always have to try to being considerate of your neighbor, right, is a righteous thing. Because like I just said, we have to worry about a whole government out here hunting us right now. And so us coming together, that's the way that we're going to survive this. That's the way that we're going to navigate what's going on right now. I mean, I don't know. Like, I've seen some things, in my life, but I ain't seen it, get how it is right now. Right. They put together a whole task force. They taking Navy SEALs and bringing them in the streets. Right. To hunt Black and Hispanic and Native Americans. We don't have time, to be fighting, one another. We don't have time, to be chasing our oppressor and trying to be like our oppressor and following his ways and from our oppressor. We don't have time for that. The time is to love another Black, Hispanic, and Native American. That's what time. Because we're not going to get no help here in America. This is not our rest. This is not our home. We're trying to fight to get out of hell. We're fighting to get out of hell. Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, we are in hell. We're going through the same thing. We're experiencing the same thing. And we have to fight the same fight. We are experiencing the same oppression. We're trying to get up out of hell. And the only way we're going to get up out of hell is if we do that together. Right. Because, if you, say certain things or you do certain things, well, you don't know who you hindering from coming into school. You don't know who you hindering from leaving the school. Like, we all come up out of the Christian church, and 99% of us that come in here, we come from the Christian church. We run away from the Christian church because we understand that ain't right. We understand that that's not where the Lord's at. So we come in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge seeking refuge. And so when we come, we want to, we want to feel like we found the home of the truth. We want to feel like we found the Most High God. And that's how you should feel when you come into school. But again, you have to watch your tongue. You have to watch your actions because, again, those things can hinder people from coming in, and they can also influence people to leave. Because they come in here and they like, oh, man, I just left the Christian church, you know what I'm saying, all this going on there, and then I come here and what's the difference?
Right.
Because we don't know how to speak to one another. Because we don't have compassion for one another. Because we want to talk behind each other's back. We want to criticize one another. People who leave the Christian church don't want to come here and feel like that they're coming right back to a place that they left. This is a place where people shed themselves of the world. This is where people come to cleanse themselves. This is where people, come to become new creatures. If I can get that, Baba Kishar.
Con, that's the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck.
Look, it said, if I can get that one more time, let me slack. Yeah, I got it. It says that whosoever shall offend one of these little ones. Listen, when you come in here, you're coming in here as a child. You're coming in here as a babe. You're coming in here to get milk. And Christ said, who shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me? The things that you're doing, the things that you're saying, if you offend these little ones that are coming into here, that are coming into the truth, that are coming to serve the Lord, it said it were better for him that a millstone were hanged around his neck and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Listen, the Lord said it's better for you to perish. So it's our responsibility to watch our tongue, to watch the things that we say, to pay attention, how we're treating one another. Because it's not our job to offend in here. It's our job to love one another in here. We're not going to get love outside of here. We just spoke about what's happening to Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans out here in the world. Anytime you walk out to this, I can only imagine, how Hispanic brothers and sisters feel. We hear all the time of how they don't even want to leave their house. People got to, go out, bring them groceries, bring them necessities, the things that they need. They're having to be brought to them because they're afraid to leave their homes because they're being hunted out here. And that's what we're going through right now. Like, this is not the time to be playing. This is the time for us to take this serious. The Christian church, they might not believe in the Bible, but we believe in these scriptures. Everything that's going on right now, it was said that this was going to happen. Sluggy, go ahead.
And what's crazy is they not just taking the ones that are illegal. They taking the ones that are U.S. citizens. And when you take the ones that's U.S. citizens, most of them, they have jobs.
Right.
So when you take them from their jobs, they're losing money to provide for their families.
Absolutely.
And when you lacking the money and you get taken from your job, you may not have a job because there's no telling on how long that you got to go through that process to find out, oh, this is an actual citizen.
Right.
And then when you come back, when they finally let you go, let you out those cages, you don't have a job no more.
Right.
So not only are they kidnapping, they are ruining people's livelihoods.
Absolutely. Like systematic oppression is real.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A further extension of that. I.S.U.P.K. Terror documents to prove that she is a United States citizen. And that's just one story that we're hearing about. I'm sure of others. And it's like we say in the truth. If there's a box full of snakes, we're not about to, try to go through the snakes and see which ones is poisonous ones. Right. We stand away from the damn box altogether. Right. And that seems like the strategy that this government is taking. We're not finna try to figure out who's an illegal, who's not an illegal. Oh, they're Hispanic? Oh, take them. Right. And we'll figure it all out on the back end. And then you come and you show documentation that you're a United States citizen, and they're still trying to prove that you're not. Right. So what does that say? They don't give a damn. Right. They're trying to clean it up. You know what I'm saying? Right. They're trying to get everybody up out of it. It is a war against black and brown people. And that's what we have to realize, and we better wake up real fast, because black people are not going to care until it starts happening to them. Hispanics, our Hispanic brothers and sisters, they're already going through it. It doesn't seem real, or you don't start to think about it. It doesn't start to matter until it hits home at your door. We wasn't sitting back and paying attention to what they did to the Native Americans. The Hispanics, our Hispanic brothers and sisters, they wasn't caring, about, what they did to our Native American brothers and sisters. But when it hit their door, now they understand. And like I said, blacks, they're not going to start caring until it comes to their door. This is something that we all have to fight together. This is all something that, as a family, we're going to have to go through, and we're going to have to love one another to come up out of this, because that's the only way that we're going to get up out of this. The Lord says, I give you a new commandment, that ye love one another. We're going to have to be each other's protectors. We're going to have to be, each other's providers. We're going to have to be there for one another. Because the very people that we are counting on, which is the United States government, to help us and to provide us a way of life, these are the same ones that are trying to take it from us. Like the brother said, you get caught up by ICE, and by the time you have to go through the process of proving yourself that you are a United States citizen, well, now you don't have a job to come back to. You could have been the only one feeding your family. And now you're in a position to where you can't feed your family. Let me get Ecclesiasticus. Look at Ecclesiasticus. Let's do 19 and 16. And again, so like, we really have to, take into account, just going back, to what I was saying about, how we treat one another, and how we, deal with one another. Like I said, the times can't get, more serious, than they are right now. And this is not a time, to cause division, amongst, each other. 19 and 16, Baba Kashaw.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, out of the Apocrypha, chapter 19, verse 16. There is one that slippeth in his speech, but not from his heart.
Salaki, if we could, let's go to 19 and 13.
This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 19, verse 13. Admonish a friend. It may be he have not done it.
So listen, it says admonish a friend. It may be he have not done it. You know, we have to give each other the benefit of the doubt. Okay? Because once we start trying to play the blame game, or we start trying to hold people accountable, it says admonish a friend because he might not have done it. That's where the communication, part comes in. We have to talk to one another. Right. If you think someone did something, well, we need to talk this out because it's a possibility he may not have even done it. Right. And now we're holding a grudge, against somebody, or we're, developing, hate towards, somebody, and he might not even, had done anything. And that just goes back to, having compassion for one another, giving each other the benefit of the doubt. Because it's real easy to separate. It's real easy to cause contention, amongst one another. That's easy. Go ahead.
And like one of the things that, like in Proverbs, when it says like some things that the Lord hate, and one of those things is basically gossip.
So something a tongue.
Yeah, he say, she say. Right. So this, that pretty much goes along with what you're saying right now, because, just say, for instance, somebody say, oh, man, I lost $40. And then, oh, well, Craig said he found $40, or, well, Craig did it. Right. And you never did ask Craig, you just go and beat him up. Right. For no reason. It's a lot of brothers and sisters. It's a lot of brothers in jail right now because of, domestic issues with their, with their baby mamas or whatever the case may be. It's a lot of brothers that's unalived or been, beaten because, someone have lied on them. Right. Versus going to, hey, did you like, especially, like when a man and a woman get into it and she has a big brother. Yep. And she go tell her big brother, oh, well, he put his hands on me. He did this and he did that. And, big brother not trying to hear nothing. He finna go smash. So the dude either get, beat up or unalive off of a lie. Right, exactly. Versus going to say, hey, well, did you really do this and did you really do that? You know what I'm saying? That goes, along with what you're talking about. Go ahead.
No, absolutely, because, it's one thing, with Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, one thing, we know how to be, and that's messy. You understand? And being messy, like the brother said, has gotten a lot of brothers and sisters in a lot of situations that they didn't need to be in. Like he said, someone telling a lie. They might have got their feelings hurt, or they might have been embarrassed, for whatever reason. And now they go and tell a lie, and because they can't take it. And now someone's getting unalived, or someone's getting hurt, someone's going to jail, And that's what's so heavy about the scriptures. It says, admonish a friend, because it may be that he had not even done it. Right. And that's just so heavy right there. And that just goes to show, like, we have to give each other the benefit of the doubt. We have to be willing, to talk to one another, talk it out. Let's keep reading. Baba Kashaw.
God. Verse 14.
Salaki, if you could, what does it say? The last part.
Oh, you want verse 16? You want the rest of 13? Salaki. Okay. Salaki. I just read the whole thing over. Admonish a friend. It may be he have not done it, and if he have done it, that he would do it no more.
That he would do it no more. So even it might be a situation where he did do something. Right. But if you go to that brother or that sister and you talk to him, well, it can be that, hey, Salaki, I didn't know, I won't do it no more. It will never happen again. That's a lot better than going to jail, over something small or minute. That's a lot better than being unalive over a situation. Right. Give a person a chance, you understand? I didn't even do that. Oh, well, my bad, I got wrong information, or you know what, I did do that, but I wasn't aware. You understand?
Right.
I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I won't ever do it again. That's how we're supposed to deal with one another, because we're so quick to jump and snap and want to, you know, curse somebody out and get into it and square up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we so quick to jump to violence.
Right.
When all we got to do is show a little love. You
Right.
understand? How easy is it, you know what I'm saying, to show a little bit of love? I
Right.
know for me, you know, there's a lot of times, you know, I'm like, man, you know, listen, man, I'm not even finna, you know what I'm saying, go, because it's gonna mess up my day. Ain't nobody got time to
Right.
be going to jail, man. Ain't nobody got
Right.
time to be paying no bond. And listen, ain't nobody got time for that.
At
That's
all.
gonna mess up my day. I would rather go do this. You understand? We can go to 14, Baba Kishore.
Con. Verse 14. Admonish thy friend. It may be he have not said it, and if he have, that he speak it not again.
Like the brother brought out, you know what I'm saying? Like gossip. Someone saying, oh, he did this or she did that. Or, hey, you know, this happened, this happened. Listen, admonish a friend. Because he probably didn't even say it. It might be that he didn't say it. Read.
Con. Verse 15. Admonish a friend, for many times it is a slander, and believe not every tale.
Listen, a lot of times, man, y'all getting this, you know, third party, fourth party, fifth party information. And for many times, you know what I'm saying, it is a slander. That person is being slandered because of somebody's feelings, because they want to be messy, because they want to stir something up, because they want to cause trouble. I know everybody done heard of someone being a troublemaker, just want to cause trouble for no reason. So listen, Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, admonish a friend. You know, give that, you know, go communicate with that friend. Give that friend the benefit of the doubt. Show a little compassion to that friend, because it might be that he hasn't even done anything. She hasn't even done anything. It's a possibility that it could be slander. It could be a possibility that someone is being lied on. And now, houses are ruined, families are ruined, people's lives are ruined over slander, over something, over a lie. And it says, believe not every tale. Don't believe everything that you hear.
Right.
Like, if you hear something, like the thing would be to go to that person, see if what's really being said, see if that's really what's going on, see if that's really the situation, see if that's what's happening. Because a lot of times it's slander. A lot of times that's not what's happening. A lot of times somebody heard it from someone else. Something got misconstrued. You know, signals got crossed. And what was happening wasn't really happening. How many times have you heard of a situation being caused out of a lie, out of confusion, out of someone not getting the whole story? It happens. And believe it or not, it happens more times than none. And so it's really important. And again, it's important that we, you know, recognize these things, because these are the things that, you know, or these are the things that most of the time, you know, separate people from one another. How many times that you had, or I don't know, you might have been in this or heard about someone being in this situation where you have a really good friend. Y'all been, I don't know how long. Somebody come and tell you something. And now you and had a friend for 15, 20 years, and off of slander, off of a lie, you ain't spoke to that person in 15, 20 years.
Right. That one time that you didn't go holler at your boy.
Right.
For 15 years. Like you know when he's mad, you know how he acts and reacts to anything.
Right.
And you believe this one serpent at this one time, and you never did go check with your brother.
Right.
You know, you see it all the time, especially like in rap beefs. Like with some of these athletes, you know what I'm saying, that go years without talking to each other. I think Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas just made up a couple years ago. And like all these type of beefs that build up off of, like you said, like slander. And that one time when you didn't go check, you know, I might be jumping the gun and apply Matthew 18 and 15,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to go to your brother and your brother alone. The one time you don't do it and you believe that serpent, now you severed a friendship or a brotherhood or a sisterhood.
Exactly.
Or that you severed love.
Exactly. And the scripture tell us to come together. And the scripture tells us to love one another. Like the brother said, you know, those situations are the type of things that sever those relationships, sever that bond, sever that love. And also what plays a part too in a lot of that is ego and pride as well. You know, it's some things that, oh, we just can't take, or it's, you know, we get really, really prideful and allow, you know, our judgment to be obscured. We allow, you know, these situations to affect our judgment, how we move, how we handle situations. You know, so not only, you know, is the tongue powerful, you know, but that pride and that ego is just as harmful. And a lot of times we have to look at ourselves. A lot of times we have to check ourselves. Because a lot of times, you know, we do things and that person didn't deserve for me to say that. That person didn't deserve for me to do that. Listen, a little bit of mercy and a little bit of compassion will go a long way. Sometimes someone might do something to you. Sometimes someone might offend you. What do they say? Someone has to be the bigger person.
Right.
Someone has to show a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of seasoning in the situation. Because without that, just going back to what the brother said, that love can be severed. Or not even that love can be severed, a bond that can be created, you know, could never become a bond because of something. You understand? Was there any more on that? Oh, Salaki, let me get 16.
This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 19, verse 16. There is one that slippeth in his speech, but not from his heart.
Listen, there's one that might slip in his speech, but not in his heart. What does that mean? What does it mean where it says there is one that slippeth in his speech, but not from his heart? How many times have you done something or said something and you did not mean to offend a soul? You did not mean for the outcome to become what it is. You did not mean, you know, to hurt someone. How many times has that happened? I would say that's pretty common. It's pretty common for us to say certain things because we don't know, you know, what offends somebody. We don't know what's a stumbling block, you know, for someone. We don't know. So a lot of times we really have to be mindful. Now, when you're around your family, you're around your friends, you kind of, you know what to say, how to act, you know, how people will accept certain things. When you're around your folks, when you're around your people. But when you're around people that you might not spend a lot of time with, you know, you might not, you know, be as loose, you know what I'm saying, with your speech. You might not do certain things because you don't understand or you don't know how that might affect someone. And I know a lot of times when I'm out, the last thing I want to do is offend anyone. So if I'm certain places or I'm in certain environments, there's some things I won't say. There's some things that I won't do. Because again, you never know, you know, who you are going to offend. And so if you are offended by someone, if someone does say something that you don't like or you don't agree with, if somebody does something you don't like or you don't agree with, talk to that person. Communicate with that person. Because a lot of times it was not from his heart. It was not intentional. And so many situations can be alleviated. So many relationships can be, so many relationships cannot be torn apart just by communicating and speaking about the situation and going to someone. If you could finish that for me, Baba Kishore. Not from his heart.
But not from his heart. And who he is that have not offended with his tongue.
Listen, man, he didn't
mean and who is he that not offended with his tongue?
So what is that saying? Who hasn't offended someone with their tongue? Who hasn't offended someone with something that they said? We all have done it. But a lot of times when we have done it, it was not from the heart. We did not mean to offend anyone with our speech. If I can get 17, Bob, go ahead.
It's like if I may. That's why it's important for people that say what's on their mind all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people, well, you got to accept me for who I am because I say what's on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, like saying something, like flat out on your mind, you have to, kind of retract what you're saying and think about what you're saying, you know what I'm saying, before you just say it. Some people can handle it, but some people can't. And sometimes it may offend somebody, but they don't really say nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a slippery slope when it comes to people like that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Listen, and you're absolutely right, 110%. A lot of times you do have people that say, listen, I'm going to speak my mind.
Right.
Okay, that's fine that you speak your mind, but you're going to have to deal with everything that comes after you speaking your mind.
Right.
Because that speech can offend someone to where it provokes them to anger.
Right.
That speech can, provoke someone to want to do something, and cause harm, to someone. So maybe,
right.
Just speaking your mind all the time is not the best thing.
Right.
Now, you do have, people like that. And even though speaking your mind, like I, was saying earlier, sometimes sparing someone's feelings is the best thing.
Right.
Because even though you want to speak your mind, well, you speaking your mind might really hurt someone, might really offend someone. But you're saying, well, they know I speak my mind. They know I'm going to say what I got to say. Well, those type of people are the ones you always seeing, in fights all the time.
Right.
In arguments all the time.
Right.
The ones that the fingers being pointed at, say, oh, man, I don't mess with they messy.
Right.
Because they don't know how to not speak their mind.
Right.
They don't know how, to spare someone's feelings.
Right.
The only thing they worried about is themselves. And that's not what this is about.
Right.
Because like I said, if you want to be that type of person, well, again, well, you're going to have to deal with everything that comes, from, speaking your mind all the time. All right, if I can get 17, Baba Kishore.
Verse 17. Admonish thy neighbor before thou threaten him.
Admonish thy neighbor before thou threaten him. Listen, man, once you get the conclusion of the whole matter, why don't you find out what's going on?
Right.
Before you just pop a top, you know what I'm saying, and going
Right.
off and threatening somebody.
Right.
I done seen plenty of times where, people just come out of nowhere, oh, you said, and people like, what? I didn't say anything. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, what's going on? And a whole situation was created, out of nothing.
Right. Out of nothing.
Out of someone, hearing something, or someone, in their own thoughts and, conjuring up, things, and like, man, they had to do this. Like, man, I know they thought they think I'm a punk, huh? They think I'm this.
Right.
Okay. And you didn't conjured up a whole, scenario, in your head that was never there.
Right.
And that's why these scriptures are so heavy. If you ever, are looking for a guide on how to live your life, You know what I'm saying? If you ever, are looking for wisdom and understanding, on how you should deal with people, how you should deal with things, like these scriptures right here, it's the blueprint. It's right here. Everything that you need. This is telling you how we are supposed to deal with one another, how we're supposed to deal with a friend, how we're supposed to deal with the neighbor. Pointing out, how powerful and how, evil, the tongue could be. You understand how much of, an influence you can be, by your words and your actions and how you can affect people. Like these scriptures are so powerful because everything in here is everything that we've experienced. Everything that we're talking about today is something that we've either experienced or that we've seen. We've seen families, torn apart because people cannot hold their tongues. We've seen, whole families destroyed because of, words and things that are said, to hurt one another. And these scriptures right here is just telling us, man, listen, admonish a friend, admonish a neighbor, give them the benefit of the doubt. Because half the time what you thought was said wasn't said. Half the time what you thought was done wasn't done. If we could finish that, before thou threaten him.
God. And not being angry, give place to the law of the Most High.
And not be angry, give place to the law of the Most High. Before you get angry, why don't you think about the law of the Most High God? And what's the commandment that we read earlier? That ye love one another.
Right.
Before you get angry at your brother, before you get angry at your sister, why don't you think about the law of the Most High God? Think about the law. Because the law that was given to us, that's the wisdom, that's the understanding that was given to the children of Israel. That's what we have back to. That's our litmus test, for what being righteous is, what being a good person is. You understand? Let me see. Let's get 18 and then we'll jump to.
This is Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19, verse 18. Fear the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the first step to be accepted of him.
Listen, fear of the Lord is the first step to be accepted by him. We all say, oh, we children of God. I'm a child of God. I love God. I'm a follower of God.
Right.
Well, if you want to be a follower of the Most High God, the scripture said the fear of the Lord is the first step to be accepted by him. And what does that mean, the fear of the Lord? What does it mean to fear the Lord? Anybody?
Let me check online.
No. Listen, fearing the Lord is fearing, the judgment that the Lord can bring upon you.
Right.
If you don't do what the Lord says, well then you have to understand that there is a judgment that is going to come to you. And if you fear the Lord, then listen, I know growing up as children, when you did something, you feared your mother and your father because you knew they was going to go get that belt and they was going to tear your butt up. And you was fearful of that. You was afraid of that. Or we can even take it back. You were scared, or you were fearing that your grandmother was going to go outside on that tree, get that switch, and tear that behind up.
Right.
You feared that.
Right.
And that's why the scripture is saying, the first step. The fear of the Lord is the first step. You better fear what the Lord's judgment is going to be upon you if you break these laws, statutes, and commandments. You better fear the Lord for offending one of these little ones. You better fear the Lord for fear the Lord for what he can do to you, you understand? Or what is going to come, to you by not keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. By hating your brother, by hating your neighbor, by not, loving one another. The fear of the Lord is the first step to be accepted by him.
And wisdom obtaineth his love.
And wisdom obtaineth his love. That wisdom of how to handle situations, that wisdom and that knowledge of these commandments, that's how you obtain his love. The Christian church, what they do is they talk about love. In the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, we practice love. You understand? We don't just talk about it. This is one of them places where, you can truly say we don't talk about it, we be about it. Why? Because we fear the Most High God. We fear the Lord. Let's see, is that it on that? Let's do 19, Salaki.
Come on, verse 19. The knowledge of the commandments of the Lord is the doctrine of life.
Is the what?
Doctrine of life.
If you want to know what life is, if you want to know how, to live, it says the knowledge of the commandments of the Lord is the doctrine of life. Now, so how is that so contrary to the Christian church? Why are we reading in the Bible that it says the doctrine of life is the knowledge of the commandments? But in the Christian church, they tell us that we don't have to keep the commandments. They tell us that Christ died for our sins. And so that's how you know that the Lord is not in the Christian church. The Lord is telling you the opposite of what the scriptures are telling you. How is it the doctrine of life, and then, Christ gives his life for you, and no longer is the law, the commandments, the doctrine of life. Now the doctrine of life is gone. It's admonished. It's done away with. Because Christ died. Listen, if someone sacrifices something and someone gives you something, why would you then therefore go and let me rephrase that. How do I want to put it? Christ gave his life so that we can live. And so the way that we repay him is to continue sinning, continue to do the same things that we were doing that he had to give his life for anyway. Does that make any sense? That don't even make any sense. He gave his life so you can continue to do what you were doing that he had to give his life in the first place. Or does it make more sense for Christ to give his life so that you could give you a chance to stop doing what you were doing so you can live? That makes more sense to me. That if someone gave their life for you, that sacrifice, that you would be so thankful and so appreciative that whatever he gave his life for, that you wouldn't do it no more. Right. But the Christian church tells us that, no, you don't have to, keep the commandments. The laws are done away with. So the very thing that Christ gave his life for, you can just go ahead and say, it didn't matter that much. It wasn't that important, because that's what you're saying. That's what you're doing. It really wasn't that big of a deal. That's what we're saying. But the scripture says the knowledge of the commandments of the Lord is the doctrine of life. If we could finish that out, Baba Kishore.
And they that do things
and they that say,
that do things,
and they that believe,
that do things, that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality.
See, listen, you can't just be a sayer of things. You can't just be a believer of things. You have to be a doer. It says that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. When you do what the Most High God told you to do, then you can reap the benefits that he promised you. But only after you do the things that he told you to do, the things that he instructed you to do, the things that he commanded you to do. Only then can you reap the benefits of that tree, that fruit of the tree of immortality. That's why it's so important that we don't be hypocrites and that we don't get out here and just say, things. That we get out here and we practice what we preach, practice what we teach. Because we have to be doers of the word. We can't sit up here talking about I got love for this person or I got love for that person, and then we out here offending each other with our speech, offending each other with our behavior, talking about one another, backbiting, and all these different things. We can't do those things.
Right.
We have to understand how our speech affects one another. We have to understand that the words that we say can be very, very harmful to one another. We have to understand that the things that we say can influence people. And the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to get out here and we're trying to raise the nation of Israel up. We're trying to set a good example for the ones that come into school, the ones who want to serve the Lord. What is our job? Our job is to feed the flock and protect the flock. That is what our job is. And we get out here and we just have no consciousness of the things that we're saying and the things that we're doing, and think that is going to that's going to be allowed. And it's not. You understand? The Most High God is not accepting that. Your tongue could you can use your tongue or your speech for good and to help people, or you can use that tongue and that speech to hurt someone, to deter someone away from the Most High. And you really have to be mindful of what it is that you say and you do, and you have to listen. You have to decide, what it is that you want to do. You have to decide whether you want to serve the Lord or you want to serve yourself. And when you decide that you want to serve the Lord, well, that means that you have to love one another. That means that we have to come together as a nation of people. What Paul said? Paul said, my desire is that all Israel be saved. And that's what the goal is right here, that all Israel is to be saved. And the only way that we're going to accomplish that is we come together as a people. And when we become selfless instead of selfish. We have to be there to help one another, uplift one another, all right? Be willing to, because we're going to go through things, but would you rather go through these things by yourself, or would you rather go through them together? Because it's inevitable that we're going to go through things. Ain't no way around that. But are we going to go through them together, or are we still going to try to be divided? When ICE come, are we going to be together, or are we going to be divided? When Trump send them National Guards, them Navy SEALs into our neighborhoods, are we going to be together, or are we going to be divided? We know that we are there for one another. Listen, hell is about to get real. Listen, when y'all couldn't go in the stores, there wasn't no food on the shelves, wasn't no toilet paper in the stores. Listen, it's about to get 1,000 times worse than that. Right. Because all this government right here now, only thing they want is war. That's what they want right now, war. And who are you going to be? Are you going to be that person who divides? Or are you going to be that person who brings us together? Are you going to be that person who hates your brother or sister? Or are you going to be that person who loves your brother or sister? Are you that one that's going to use your speech for good? Or are you going to be mindful of Salakia? Or are you going to use that speech to tear down, to hate, to destroy? Listen, man, the scriptures say your tongue is a powerful weapon. Your tongue is a very powerful weapon. And it's not the time for us to be going at one another. It's not the time for us to be out here trying to tear one another down. This is a time for us to get together so we can protect one another. This is a time for us to spread that wisdom, to spread that knowledge, to uplift one another. That's what it's about right now. This government, listen, America don't care about Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. And as you're starting to see right now, because they hate you so much, that they're willing to let their own be collateral damage. Right. That their own, listen, what they just did to that lady out there in Minnesota, we're not accustomed to seeing that. We're not accustomed to seeing that. But you can see how real it's starting to get right now. They are willing to sacrifice their own so they can come and get you. They wasn't out there for pale people. They wasn't out there for, Caucasians. ICE was out there for immigrants, who they deem are immigrants. ICE was out there looking for Hispanics. And in the midst of them out there hunting Hispanics, they were willing to unalive one of their own. Listen, man. Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, we got to get it together. Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, we really have to, start to focus on what's important. Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, like, we have enemies out here. And the scripture said, never trust thine enemies. And now you're starting to see why the scriptures told you never to trust thine enemies. How many Hispanics do you think voted for Donald Trump? Donald Trump and them, they in his campaign saying how much they love him, right? How much, they were important. And soon as they get up in the White House, they construct a whole task force to hunt our brothers and sisters. Why? And our brothers and sisters, they put their trust and they put their faith in this government of America, in the president of America. And the president turned around and started to hunt them. Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, like, we got a fight on our hands. And the only way that we're going to survive this is if we come together, start showing love to one another and being one family, because we're one family. And we need to be a united family. What do they say? Together we rise and divided we fall. Right. And that's what it's going to be. Salaki, let's get Proverbs chapter 1. Let me get Colossians 4 and 6, Baba Kashaw.
God, this is the book of Colossians, chapter 4, verse 6. Let your speech be always with grace.
Let your speech be what?
Always with grace.
Let your speech be always with grace. Listen, let your speech be always, seasoned. Let your speech always be with compassion. Show mercy, what I'm saying, when you speak. Continue, Baba Kashaw.
Seasoned with salt.
Seasoned with salt. It's not always what you say.
It's how you say it.
It's how you say it. And that can be the difference between life and death. You understand?
Right.
So let your speech always be seasoned with salt. What does it mean by seasoned? Do it with flavor, do it with wisdom, do it with understanding, do it with knowledge.
Right.
Like we was talking about earlier. Some people say, oh, well, I'm just going to speak my mind. That's not being seasoned with salt. That's saying whatever comes to your mind, not giving a damn how it sounds, not giving a damn who it offends, not giving a damn about any outcome that it can have.
Right.
But here it says, let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt. Why?
That ye may know how ye ought to answer every man.
That ye may know ye ought to answer every man. When something going on, okay, well, do that with wisdom and seasoning, so that way you know how to answer that man, so he doesn't get offended.
Right.
So he doesn't get angry. So he doesn't want to unalive someone.
Right.
So he doesn't want to cause harm to someone.
Right.
Be seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. And no one's saying it's easy. Of course,
Right.
Sometimes we don't want to, speak with season. Sometimes we want to let somebody know how we feel.
Right.
Sometimes we want people to know how we feel.
Right.
You understand, Baba Kashaw?
It's like in my, I work with kids, and it's very important on how you address kids. You know what I'm saying? I remember I was teaching the drumline camp, me and one of my brothers in the world, and we was like, hey man, tie your shoe. Simple, instruction. Hey man, tie your shoe. He has a drum on. Keep in mind. So for about 10, 15 minutes, like he just shut down, like he got an attitude on his face, and he was just smacking his lips and just rocking, like mean mugging and everything. So we pulled him to the side, like, hey man, what's going on? You all right? And he was like, man, y'all tried to play me. He's like, we tried to play you? I'm like, how? Y'all told me to tie my shoe in front of everybody. And me and my boy, we looked at each other like, we just told you to tie your shoe.
Right.
And then, I guess in his mind, we were trying to play him like, he was dirty, or, he don't know how to keep himself together or whatever. So he was like, no, we told you to tie your shoe because we're about to get ready to march, and we didn't want you to trip over yourself. You know what I'm saying? You have a drum on, we didn't want to trip, want you to trip on your shoestring and then you fall and, hurt yourself on the drum. He's like, oh, you should have said that. And, and that's coming from a younger generation. We looking at each other like, I had to explain that to you? But, according to the scripture, like, that helped us season our way of interacting with, especially with adolescents, because, their mindset is not like adults. And it's crazy that you have to be seasoned with salt with adults. You know what I'm saying? But, fortunately for me, I got a little seasoning, working with kids, you know what I'm saying, on how to, get the interaction, get the reaction that I want out of people, you know what I'm saying? Because when you speak with salt, people don't have no problem doing what you need them to do, or what, like a manager. If you got one of those tyrant managers at the job site, or file this, email this, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And, everybody's lackadaisical.
Right.
They don't want to do it. But when you have a manager or a leader that speaks with compassion and understanding, they have no problem with, like, Chick-fil-A workers. Like the difference between somebody that works at Burger King and Chick-fil-A.
Right.
When you go to Burger King, may I take your order? Oh no, we out of this. But when you go to Chick-fil-A, it's my pleasure.
Right.
You can order $1,000 worth of food. You're gonna sit back there and cook $1,000 worth of food, and everything gonna be right. Absolutely. Nothing missing, down to the ketchup.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because on how that company, you know what I'm saying, treats and operates. Mm-hmm. So when you use season with salt, it's the same thing. Absolutely. It's like if I may.
No, absolutely. You hit that right on the head. Like we were saying, it's not about what you say. You know what I'm saying? It's about how you say it. And like I say, you always want to be mindful because you never know what could offend a person. You never know how someone is going to accept something. And again, it might not, be that you're doing it from your heart. You might just slip of the speech. It might not be, from your heart. You understand? When you're, dealing in situations, it's always going to be better, to have speech with wisdom than it is, going to be, speaking, not thinking, and not, giving a damn about nobody else. And only worried about, you and, oh, this is how I am. I'm going to speak my mind. It's always going to be better, to be seasoned with salt because, like the brother just said, he understood that speaking with that season, he knew how to get the reaction that he needed to get, out of the kids. And that's what it's saying, when it says how he ought to answer every man. He knew how to answer that child, because he was seasoned. And then he got the reaction out of that child that he needed. You understand? And so we have to, take that mindset, dealing with each other as brothers and sisters. Let's deal with these brothers, deal with each other, with season. Let's deal, with each other, having our speech, with grace. Because now when we do that, well, now I'll know how to answer my brother. I'll know how to, get the reaction or, get what I need out of that brother or out of that sister because I was able to deal with it with season. You understand? But the water for that was heavy. Let me see if I could. Let's get Proverbs 18 and 21, Baba Kishar. Let me jump there with you. (18 and 21), Baba Kishar.
All right, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Death and life are what?
Are in the power of the tongue.
Read, Baba Kishar.
And they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
Listen, man, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Your tongue is the most powerful organ that you have on your body. You understand? You understand? And that power that your tongue has could either bring death or it can bring life. Right. And I don't really think, many times, we even consider or even think about that. A lot of times we just say things, to say it, or a lot of times, we just say things, without any regards, to anyone else. Just like what we were talking about at the beginning of the class, about, children being bullied or even adults, anyone, being bullied. Well, that power that you have, using, bullying that person, well, we've heard plenty of times and seen plenty of examples where, what you saying to someone, could bring, that death. Because, many times you hear about people that, have unalived themselves because of what someone said or because of what someone did. It says death and life are in the power of the tongue. And it's just as powerful, as that tongue is where you can bring death, where that tongue is just as powerful, to where you can bring life. You understand? You can use, so what are you going to use your tongue for? Like, what are you going to, what is it that you're trying to do? Are you trying to destroy, or are you trying to, build? Are you trying to bring death, or are you trying to bring life?
Right.
And we have to be knowledgeable of that, and we have to be considerate of that, when we speak. Let's see. Shalaki, where are we at? 18 and 19. Yeah, let's.
I mean, we was at
18. Oh, we was at 18 to 21, huh?
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Let's jump to 24 for me, Baba Kashaw.
Con, this is Proverbs chapter 18, verse 24. A man that has friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother.
Listen, man, it says a man that has friends must show himself friendly. Now, if you're going to be a friend to someone, you have to show that person, that you're a friend. Because we don't deal with people, just off what somebody say. Right. There's a lot of times we don't deal with people because we don't know them. We don't know who they are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Well, that's why it says right here, you have to show yourself friend. You have to show yourself a friend. And what we've been reading in this Bible, it hasn't been a lot of, say this and say that, and that's acceptable. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of doing in this Bible. It's a lot of work to be done in these scriptures. Like, this ain't something, this is, like I said, and this is not the Christian church. You can't just shout and scream and say whatever you want in here. You have to work in here. You have to show that you're a friend. You have to show that you want to serve the Most High God. And that is by your actions. It says you know a tree by the fruit that it bears. You know that tree, well, what comes out of that tree, the type of fruit that comes. So you know someone by their works. Right. You know someone by the things that they do. You know someone and how they are by what they say. If you have someone always being negative, if you have someone always trying to tear someone down, you know what type of person that is. You know what type of person that is. And those are the people that you tend not to want to be around unless you're similar to that person.
Right.
Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, listen, we have to come together. We have to love each other. We have to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. This is the time right now. If there was ever a time, this is the time right now. Our enemies are ramping things up. All right. Donald Trump, he don't want to lead the White House. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump ain't trying to go nowhere. And so he's going to cause chaos in the world so he can keep his seat. And when that chaos comes, Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, we need to be united. We need to be together. We need to, be mindful of how we treat one another, of the things that we say to one another, how our actions and how our words affect one another. Well, that's all I got. Any questions online? Anything?
No questions.
All right. All right, so if there are no questions, I'm going to say Imagine, which means to stand. I'm going to do a courtesy salute to the brothers, man of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, Yahba Shem Yahshab Rakatah, Yadin Matah, Sar. In turn, face the sisters. We'll give a courtesy salute to the sisters, men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, Yahweh Shemalatah Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yajimata. Dismissed.